In the extremely popular four-wheel drive dual cab ute world, the Ford Ranger has not only been a sales success, but it's been very, very dominant when it comes to comparison tests against other utes. But those comparison tests happen when the utes are all brand new. But what happens when they're not new? What happens when they've got a few years and a few thousand kilometres on them? Is the Ford Ranger still the king of the hill? Is it still worth buying? What goes wrong with it? And most importantly, should you buy one? Before we get deep into the Ford Ranger, do us a favour and hit subscribe, hit the little bell icon for notifications, throw us a like, and while you're at it, go and follow us on Insta and Facebook. In this video, we're going to be focusing on the current and third generation Ford Ranger, and we're going to be focusing on the Australian variants. But if you're watching this from outside of Australia, don't fret, because all of our information and impressions should translate to Ford Rangers wherever you are. Now, this Ranger received a midlife update in 2015, and to tell if it's, let's say, the first gen or the second gen of the third gen Ranger, it went from looking like this to looking like this. And there have been nearly 40 different variants of the Ranger available, and that doesn't include a whole bunch of special editions. And with nearly 40 different variants available, we won't be going into graphic detail about absolutely every different spec on this video for obvious reasons, but we have collected and put all that info in our handy ReDriven cheat sheets. Our cheat sheets are invaluable as they provide a full breakdown of the car's model range, its common problems, what you need to look out for before you hand over your hard-earned cash, how much of that cash you should be handing over, and so much more. Check it out in the link below. Now, because dual cab utes in general are so incredibly versatile, you can get two models that look exactly the same, that are exactly the same models, but they've lived completely different lives. And because of that, there are some really specific things you need to look out for. And because of that, we have created the ultimate 4x4 ute and pickup buyer's guide, which is an absolute must watch if you're looking at buying one. The point we're trying to get across is it's just so important to know about the history of the vehicle that you might be buying. For example, on this one, this colour white and this colour white, they don't match. Now, that could be something sinister, but we've asked the owners why those don't match, and it's pretty simple. They've just changed out the flat aluminium tray for this tub style setup, so there's nothing sinister going on. But when it comes to the Ranger specifically, like, this is someone's work truck and it's had a bloody hard life, but the paint still looks good, or the chrome's still chrome, the black's still black. The whole thing could do with a bit of a polish, but overall, these are a tough truck, and the post-facelift 2015 model onwards is definitely the looker of the family. The old ones still look fine, but this looks pretty good. Okay, as far as the interior goes, let's get one thing straight. This is someone's work ute and has been used and probably abused for the last 5 years, and even after 5 years of hard work, it's coping really, really well. Like, the leather, okay, it's going a little bit shiny, but it doesn't look too cheap and nasty. It actually still feels really nice. All the door trims here, like, nothing's falling apart, nothing's rattling. The seats are still in really good condition. They've never had seat covers on them, but they're wearing really well. There's no movement in the center console. All the buttons still work, nothing's falling apart. It's a bloody good thing. It's tough. It's not luxurious by any means, but it shouldn't be. It's a ute, but it is coping really well after a lot of abuse. All Rangers come with different variations of Ford's sync system. The best one is the latest one, which is Ford's Sync 3, available on current Rangers, which has Apple CarPlay and Android Auto and like heaps of great connectivity. But if you are looking at older models, you're going to be looking at either Ford Sync 1 or Sync 2, which, look, they do the job, they're fine, but they are getting pretty long in the tooth now. So if infotainment and entertainment is important to you, either get Sync 3 on a later model or budget for an aftermarket system. As far as other tech goes, most Rangers have reverse parking sensors and a reversing camera. There's a couple of 12-volt power outlets up the front. There's a 12-volt power outlet in the back seat. There's USB input, line input, and on Wildtrak's XLTs and some limited models, there's a 230-volt power outlet in the back seat, which is great for like your hair straightener when you're on the job. Well, it's a ute, so yes, of course it is practical. Towing is rated at 3.5 tons, the rear payload is nearly a ton, but it can't quite fit a full Aussie pallet, although it does have a 12-volt power outlet. Also, the rear tray has this easy lift function, which is super handy for an easy lift tray, but not so good if you're buying a ute to work on your bicep curls. Also, the rear tray has 4 cup holders, 2 sandwich holders, actually has 8 grape or sultana holders, and 29 comically length cigar holders, or 58 normal size cigar holders, but 58 cigars is a bit excessive. In the back, under the seats, actually a really good amount of storage there. Once you're in, you've got Mat pockets here. You've got some decent sized door bins. There's no air vents or any real storage in the back of the center console here. You've got some cup holders in the armrest. And look, as far as fitting, I'm 6'2". This is in my driving position and I've got a decent amount of room, but I wouldn't want to fit 3 adults across here. I think it'd get pretty squishy. And up front, there is loads of storage. Storage here, storage down here. The door bins are absolutely massive. There's a cool little tray section up here. And here's a fun fact, with the cup holders down here, because I'm a wanker and I drink little coffees like espressos and piccolos, it's one of the few utes that actually has a piccolo or espresso specific size cup holder. You have no idea how much joy that brings me. Far too much. Like any used car, it's very important to know how they are mechanically, like what can go wrong, are they reliable, what does it take to fix it, what's it cost to fix it. And I'm not a mechanic, but we have a mechanic on staff, so it's over to Jim.
They are pretty good. There's no real big common thing we see all the time. I mean, everyone that comes in the workshop has got something wrong with it, but it's not consistent. Maybe it's a belt tension or maybe it's a fuel leak or whatever. We see lots of little problems. The big catastrophic problems they have are often a result of having their arse towed out or being flogged on the beach. Other than that, they're okay. If you're going to do any service work yourself, if you're going to change the oil, do it quickly. You've got to do it within 10 minutes because if you wait too long, they won't get oil pressure when you start it. They've got this variable displacement oil pump thing that you just can't take your time. If you're going to keep one for a long period of time, put a catch can on it, otherwise all the fumes just clog up the inlet and they just go terribly, blow smoke. You just got to do that. And besides that, it's probably my pick of the dual cab market. I personally like the way they look. Their interiors are a bit scabby, but other than that, they're pretty good.
When Ford launched this facelifted Ranger, they said it was the safest ute in its class, and if you can find one with the safety tech pack, pretty much still is. The tech pack includes semi-autonomous emergency braking, semi-automatic park assist, traffic sign recognition, adaptive cruise control, lane keep assist, and auto high beam. But even without the optional safety tech pack, this thing is still loaded with safety goodies like airbags in the back, a couple of ISOFIX points, and a 5-star NCAP safety rating. So, like most dual cab utes, the Ford Ranger is built on a ladder frame chassis and has a leaf-sprung rear end. So, no matter how much Ford have tried, or the Ford engineers have tried, it still has that slight jiggly feeling. It's definitely the least jiggly feeling dual cab ute in the class, but yeah, it's still there. And because of that leaf-sprung rear end as well, it's inherently not as stable as, say, a car or even a well-sorted SUV. And again, while it is probably the best in the class, and still handles quite nicely for a ute, it does still feel like a ute. So these post-2015 facelifted Rangers come with electrically assisted steering racks, which basically means they have no feel whatsoever. Around town, it's really nice and light and easy to maneuver, and out on these open roads, it does weight up a bit to try and give you some feel, but like, yes, it does steer the car in the direction you want to go, but there's just there's no nuance to the steering. This thing's 5 years old and it has had a pretty tough life, but there's no rattles, there's no squeaks. It sounds and feels as tight as a drum. It kind of still has that almost chiseled from granite feel about it. And even the road noise isn't too bad. This is on aftermarket wheels and tyres, but there's a bit of wind noise coming from the big mirrors, but still feels great. As accomplished as this thing is on-road, it actually really shines off-road. It's got switchable four-wheel drive, it's got a rear diff locker, it's got great ground clearance, and it's actually got the best weighting depth of any car in its class. And short of serious, like rock crawling, hardcore off-roading, if you fit a set of all-terrains on one of these, it'll go pretty much anywhere you point it. Vision is really good too, like it's got big A-pillars with these grab handles, but they're set a little bit further back, so vision out front is good, and even towards the back, there's no massive blind spots. Great. This Ranger is fitted with the 3.2 litre 5-cylinder turbo diesel, and like most dual cabs, it's not the most inspiring engine. Look, it does the job, but this one just lacks in a bit of mid-range urge, and it's just not exciting. For a truck that handles as well as this and can go off-road as well as this, I just wish it had a better engine. So here's the thing with the Ranger. Look, it might not be the best as far as performance goes, but even after a few years and thousands of kilometres, it just still does everything else really, really well. Here in Australia, pricing starts at around about $10,000 for manual two-wheel drive 2012 XL cab chassis, but it will have loads of Ks on it. And if you want a 4x4 double cab, you're going to need around about 17 grand, again for a base model XL. At the other end, and excluding Raptors, pricing tops out at around about $70,000 for 2019 Wild Tracks with minimal kilometres and with loads of quality accessories bolted to it. In Australia, as of May the 14th of 2018, Ford announced all new Fords will come with a 5-year warranty, replacing their previous 3-year warranty. So trying to find a used Ranger with some factory warranty left on it. But even without the factory warranty, the Ranger comes with Ford's lifetime capped price servicing plan, which is great for peace of mind. But the Ranger does need to be serviced every 12 months or 15,000 kilometres, and the price will vary depending on what service you need and what consumables your Ranger requires. So just make sure you thoroughly check the service history of any Ranger you're looking at. Also, before you commit to having your local Ford dealership service your Ranger, just make sure your trusted local mechanic can't offer you a better deal. We have heard of some horror stories associated with a lack of quality when it comes to dealership servicing. Yes, absolutely. If you're on the market for a second-hand dual cab ute, the Ford Ranger should be right at the top of your list. But with so many variants available, which one should you get? Well, our pick is actually this one, an XLT, and try and get one with a tech pack. Find the lowest kilometre, best condition XLT with a solid service history that fits your budget and make sure it ticks all the boxes on our ultimate four-wheel drive buyer's guide, and just get one. You'll bloody love it. So there you have it, guys, the Ford Ranger. What do you think? Would you buy one? Do you already own one? Let us know what you think about it in the comments section below. And while you're at it, why not hit subscribe, hit the bell icon, throw us a like, and go and follow us on all the socials. See you next time.